So this is the rear valve, or the exhaust valve, and this is the front valve, or the air fuel intake valve. And when we turn it over, we will see that the intake valve port is quite a lot larger than the exhaust valve port. Okay. We'll also see that there is some locating dowels. So there's actually 3 of them here. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And the locating dowels just fit over the actual, so 3 of the bolts here. So they fit over all of the bolts except for this one here. And we'll also notice that there is a gasket between the cylinder head and the cylinder itself, and that the role of the gasket is to create a really tight seal for the cylinder to ensure that the burning of the air fuel mixture is contained within the cylinder itself. If there is not a tight seal, then the burning air fuel mixture will not be able to create enough pressure to push that piston back down and to drive your motorcycle. This dowel here has a little rubber oil seal on it actually, which corresponds to sitting in here in the gasket, whereas the others do not have that little oil seal. They just have a gasket around them. Okay. And the role of the dowels is just to ensure that the cylinder head is mated to the cylinder exactly. So I've got my starter motor hooked up to the positive terminal of a battery, and I have the jump lead connected to the negative terminal of the battery as well. So I'm just going to jump the starter motor, and we should be able to see the piston moving up and down. So don't worry about the sparks you're going to see. I just want to demonstrate how the starter motor turns over the engine when it's off. I think the 2 remaining bolts that are holding the cylinder on are here and here. Okay, they're easy enough. Okay, so those 2 bolts weren't done particularly tight. Just remove them. Okay, so I need to give this a light tap. Again, I don't want to damage the aluminium, so this is just a rubber hammer. Just looking for somewhere that I can tap. It's not going to cause damage. Comes off easy enough now. So the only thing that's really creating any resistance is the piston itself. So as I lift this off, I want to catch that piston, as I don't want it falling against the meeting surface between the cylinder and the crankcase. So I'm catching the piston, slowly coming up. Almost up. Okay, so that's the cylinder head off. As you can see, the cylinder itself has an extension down into the actual crankcase to accommodate the length of the travel that the piston has to go. We can see that there is two dowel pins on the alternator side. We can see then also that we have two rocker arms down the bottom. And these two rocker arms, if you can see on this side, they act on the push rods. So these rocker arms are acted on by a little cam that is on the crankshaft, which we can see just here. So there's a little cam there on the crankshaft, and that acts on the rocker arms, which then act on the push rods, and then the push rods act on the rocker arms in the cylinder head, which activate the valves in the cylinder head. So on this particular engine, the starter motor can be removed by undoing these two bolts at the rear, and in the starter motor, so just slip out this way and disconnect from the entirety of the alternator cover. I can remove the alternator cover by undoing these bolts here. So they're around the edge of the alternator cover, and then there's one underneath the starter motor. So when I undo all those bolts, I should be able to just pull the alternator cover away from the crankcase and the starter motor. So to remove the last two bolts, I've got an 8 socket on a smaller, it's a thinner socket, so it's the same width the whole way down. It's on a thinner stalk or extension. Okay, so that's going to access into the little tight spaces, whereas this is getting stuck between the starter motor and the alternator cover. Okay. That was tight enough. removed all the nuts, or all the bolts. So before I take out my bolts, I have cut a piece of cardboard like so, and I've put holes in it with a Phillips head screwdriver. And there should be a hole to correspond to every bolt. There's one at the top, two on the left, two on the right, and two on at the bottom. So you mark it as up, right, and you make sure that you notice this is for the alternator cover. So you remove each bolt, you unscrew it, and you put it into its relevant place in the cardboard. That way you know where each bolt goes when you put them back. So just be careful, because this cover could just fall off. If you're doing this on a hard surface, it's just going to fall onto a hard surface and possibly crack. So just be careful when removing the last few bolts. And make sure you put each bolt into the right holding position on your cardboard. Okay. For these few, I'm just going to hold the alternator cover because I don't want it falling off, falling onto the ground. Soft aluminium cover will crack very easily. So, get my little magnet, try and get this out. In there. Flathead screwdriver will do the job. Okay. Two at the top or the bottom. Larger. Just that one last one. Now, I know where all my bolts go back in. Okay, so now I just want to remove the starter motor. So I've already given it a few knocks of rubber mat. I'll just keep knocking it. Okay, and it should come out. It's quite a tight fit. You just want to make sure you do not hit it with a metal hammer, It must be a soft rubber hammer. Okay, so I think that's out there now. Okay, so there we have our starter motor. It just has a little output shaft. Okay, so I'm just gonna remove this gear holder. So that I can actually just make sure that there's no extra pressure when I'm trying to remove the stator cover, because it's quite tight. So I'll just remove this cover and take out the gears inside. Just 3 bolts. There we go. Should be it out fully. Okay, so I'll just take this a few light blows. With a little bit of pressure, and off it comes. Okay, so this was just a reduction gear. So this gear here connected to the output shaft from the starter motor, and then this gear here connected to shafts or gears in the engine. And I'll just put the little bolts back into that. And I'll put that to one side. Okay, so in this little gear container, a reduction gear container, there's another little bolt which I have to remove. It's securing the gasket or the alternator cover. So you can just see it in there. I'm hoping that is it. So that's out there now. Put it to one side. I'm hoping that is it. Let's just hit it a few blows and see does it come out. Right, we have movement there now. I see it's just come loose. The little gasket was really what was sealing it. There might be some gears meshed as well, but it has come loose finally. Okay, lots of movement there now. A little bit tighter on this side, so I'll just take a few. Again, I'm just hitting it with a rubber mallet. You would never hit any of these casings with a metal hammer. Okay, right, it's getting looser. Okay, so just keep moving it slowly. You want to watch out for any sort of washers, or you don't want to be too rough with it if any washers kind of fall out. Okay. So let's turn it on its upside down. Okay. Let's get in there a little bit better. Okay. There we go.